This happened in a village in France. There was an old woman. She had an old clock. It wasn't an ordinary clock. It skipped seconds. Sometimes hours would vanish. Minutes would collapse to nothing. People inside the house would lose time literally. You could go upstairs and come back down and your hair would be grayer. He blinked and suddenly he was 5 years older. He panicked. He started running around the room. Then he looked at the clock and he screamed, "It stopped." A young boy went up into the attic one day and came down with gray hair. He told his mother, "I went up there and I saw all these clocks. I touched one and then my hair started turning gray." Then they heard a voice. It said, "Now you will both become 100. Their hair turned white. They kept smashing mirrors until they were both 100 years old. Every time she looked in the mirror, she saw an old woman staring back. And every time she tried to break another mirror, her hands turned to dust. So she couldn't break any more mirrors. Then one day a visitor came over and he stood next to the clock and he said, "I'm gonna blink, and when I blink I'm gonna be 10 years younger." They took the clock out of the wall and time stopped. No one moved, no one breathed. They couldn't speak. 3 hours passed like that. Then the clock started ticking again and they could move again. But ever since that day, no one has touched that clock. But now I have to tell you what happens when you break a mirror. The granddaughter came over and she looked in the mirror and she said, "What do you want me to do? I see an old woman too." The grandmother said, "No, you don't understand. You have to break it." The grandmother tried to hit the mirror with a hammer, but her hands turned to dust again. So then the granddaughter took the hammer and she smashed the mirror, and suddenly they both started to age rapidly. The grandmother turned into a withered old woman and the granddaughter became 80 years old. That old woman who owned that house, she broke a mirror once and then strange things started happening. One day she called her granddaughter and she said, "You have to come over here right now." The grandmother said, "You were supposed to break the mirror before I turned 80. Now we both become 80 together." Then the voice said, "Now you will both become 200. They smashed more mirrors and they kept doing that until they were both 200 years old. Now where is that old woman?" "Well, actually she's here in this picture. Can you see her?" "She's the one holding the mirror."